Hey YouTube, we're on the road this morning, headed up to Grady's. Gonna go see if we can get some work done on the Squire. Had a couple developments on the engine front this week that could be a problem. We'll show you what we've got here in a little bit. We've got a car show that we were really hoping to get it in next weekend, so I don't know if we'll be able to make that, but we'll see what we get into. Also, while we're at it, if you like the videos, hit that subscribe button. We're at 99.9% unsubscribed viewers, so if we could maybe push that down to like 99%, I'd be happy. Okay, here we are. Some progress has been made since last time. That's the spare engine. More on that here in a little bit. Obviously, wheels and tires are back on. Got some of the brake issues worked out. Went ahead and bought those brake hoses that we thought were a little oversized, and found oversized nuts to go on this 3/16 brake line. So just had to reflare those, and that's good to go. The brake flaring tool broke on the last one, so we've got one more to do in the rear. But for now, we're gonna start working on getting this engine pulled out. We've still got the master cylinder to put in, but we figure without the master cylinder, that's just that much more room to get the engine out, and then we'll have, with the engine out, we'll have that much more room to get a master cylinder put back in. So we're gonna get started on that, and we'll stop in and update as we can. Okay, we're getting to a point now where we're about ready to pull the engine. I had a nice time-lapse shot all planned up here from above where you could see everything that we did, but apparently this GoPro, either it's the GoPro or I don't know how to do time-lapse stuff, so we'll assume the GoPro doesn't know. But anyway, got everything loose, radiator out, carburetor off. We got all the bolts, motor mount bolts loose. We've got the bell housing bolts out. Pretty much ready to go out. We're gonna see if we can get a engine hoist hooked up here and get this thing yanked out.
Yeah, it had lead in it and everything. In the 80s, it still had lead in it? Yeah. 79? Yeah. Because that Camaro, I run premium in that.
that I traded for this.
You mean the Corvette?
Hmm?
The Corvette, not the Camaro.
No, it's a Camaro I traded for this. Didn't tell you the story about the Camaro?
I thought you traded the Corvette for this car.
No.
Oh.
Phil, you've seen pictures of the black Corvette, black Camaro.
Yeah.
Phil bought that car, and you know, Phil, he decided he needed to sell it. So I bought it from him, and then I got this obsession to get a kit car. I was really wanting a kit car because I had seen this car that his roommate Bob Flood had bought. He flew. This guy, he talk about faith. This guy bought this car out of Hemmings magazine, took a plane to Florida, picked it up and drove it back.
He drove back from Florida in this thing?
Yeah, he drove back from Florida in it, and
Yeah, but how old of a car was it at the time?
well, this was in. He didn't
So it
have
would
it
have been
much.
like 3 or 4 years old, probably.
Right.
Yeah,
Now, haven't seen all the car. That's a little bit different story.
But
I wouldn't hesitate to buy a 3-year-old car. Though.
and then he took it. The first thing he did, because it was yellow. First thing I think it was yellow. First thing he did is went and had it painted. Took it all apart, had it painted, and put it back together. He didn't have the car that long, less than a year, because his dad's business went under, and him and Phil were both trim carpenters for his dad.
Oh, okay, back on that. There we go. Lifters out. Yeah. I didn't look at all of them as they came out, but I don't think there's anything wrong with any of them. Like you said, they didn't have a burr. We wouldn't have got them out with this magnet.
I could have swore you told me you traded the Corvette for this.
No. Phil found a guy to sell my Corvette to.
Alright. What are we playing next?
Yep.
Okay, as you can see, we've got it all broken down. So we decided to go ahead and pull this one out and see what we were dealing with, because we thought we had a donor engine, and this would probably be a good donor engine for something, but as it turns out, this one ended up being a 200 instead of a 250, and this bell housing bolt pattern is different along with the starter location. So while there seems to be a lot of similarities here, it's not going to work. We've put out all the bulletins looking for another engine, but haven't gotten anything back on that yet. So we decided to go ahead and tear into this one and see just exactly what we're dealing with. So far, it hasn't looked too bad on the inside. I mean, that being relative, I guess. The cylinders are a little rusted. Not real crusty like we were afraid we might see, but just some surface rust on every single one. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get this thing apart and maybe run a hone through the cylinders and see what we're dealing with. If we can, we may just see about going back together with this one. We had a car show that we were really hoping to get it into next weekend, but at this rate it's not looking very good unless something comes about. We're going to have to end up ordering gaskets and probably rings and bearings and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get this thing apart, or see if we can get it apart, and see what we're dealing with from there.
I thought you took it out.
Okay, so lesson learned here. If you're going to pull a harmonic balancer off and you get your puller all set up and everything ready to go like you need to, well, before you go ham on it and bend your puller just a little bit, it's not too bad. You should pull this little washer out here so that the harmonic balancer will come off. Okay, so we've come across something pretty interesting inside. We got the crank out, and as you can see, all these connecting rods sticking up straight. it looks like all of our wrist pins are seized. You see that's a pry bar taking a considerable amount of force just to get our connecting rods to pivot inside the piston. So we'll see, continue on the path and see what else we can find out. That may be a major part of our issue, but we'll see what we come up with when we get it the rest of the way. Okay, let's see if now this one will go probably. That one's not straight enough yet. Guess what? Somebody want to grab that bearing out of there, Dad? Yeah. I probably already took out all the ones that... I'll grab that bearing too.
Keep track of where those came from.
Yeah.
There we go. Guess what? I already got the two out that are going to come out.
Try that one.
Okay, we got everything out with pretty minor damage, we'll say, for now. We'll see how it goes. The bores, I mean, again, we had some rust in them, but we'll see what they do whenever we're going to try and use a hone and get them cleaned up. We'll see what comes out of that, but the first thing that we've got to take care of are these pistons. So like I showed you a little bit ago, these connecting rods are stuck. We believe that just these wrist pins are stuck in the pistons. This should be, we believe they are pressed in the connecting rods and should float in these pistons. So we're going to see what we can do to get these freed up and see if we can get them apart and check that out. We're probably going to go try one first before I show you what's going on, just in case we damage something, but we'll be back here in a second. Okay, so we've got one down and loosened up pretty good. The goal here is we're going to try and get these just loose enough that we can get them pressed apart and check things out. But here goes nothing for round two.
Off the steel on the aluminum.
Nice. Okay, well, here's our current situation. We've got the engine disassembled. We still haven't honed anything yet. We've been working on other stuff. We got parts. We got the main bearings ordered, connecting rod bearings ordered, piston rings, and I think we're gonna try and give this thing a rebuild real quick. If everything works out and we can get this taken care of, we're still shooting for this weekend to get this car together. It's a pretty aggressive goal, but we've got the connecting rods free, more or less, here. We're still gonna work on that a little bit. We're gonna try and get all these wrist pins out and see if we can get them cleaned up and or see what's going on, why they were so stiff. But we'll give that a try. And then we've been trying to search parts like mad on the internet, figuring out where we can get stuff and when we can get it. The biggest deal is when. it looks like most everything's going to take probably till at least Tuesday to show up, and if we're going to get this thing going for next weekend, it'll be a mad dash to get that put together. But that's the current state of affairs, so that's what we're chasing. So now that we've got it to work, I feel comfortable showing you guys what's going on. So we've got a couple apart. You can see the wrist pin here. It still feels smooth, but there's some discoloration there, and maybe just a hair bit of corrosion or something. I mean, it's almost, rubbing it with my finger right now, it's even hard to tell that there even could be anything. So we're gonna wind up cleaning those up and reusing them, I'm sure. The piston bores and the small end of the connecting rods, all that looks good. We'll bring you over here and I'll show you the process for how we're getting these out. So we've got, back up. Why is that? So we've got a piece of all thread, 1/2 inch all thread, with a tube nut on this side that's just the right size to hit the wrist pin there. And then over on this side we've got these are 1 inch pipe thread couplings, and we cut this one out here, you see, so it'll fit nice and tight up against the piston there. And then we've got a second one for length. We did take a grinding disc and clean up the threads just so they're not so pointed on the inside. And then we got several washers here and another tube nut. And then so that allows us to pull that piston or that wrist pin through the connecting rod and on out this side. So we shoot a little bit of heat to it right before we do it too, and it just helps them pop a little bit easier. So I'll see if I can get the camera set up and you can watch us do this one.
Spot for that.
Yeah, I guess so.
You want to tighten that bicep?
Oh,
Nobody ever tightened the bicep. I was wondering why he was holding that.
was too. Seems like it's taking a lot more effort for him than it used to. I don't know why it's moving so much.
Oh, that's funny.
You're not centered in the nuts, then.
Get everything lined up.
Yep.
Then we put a little pressure on it. Well, this one might go without, looks like it's going to go without heat. So usually I take just this MAP gas torch and go up and heat the small end of the rod, but this one's not too bad. So you gotta be careful, make sure you pick the right ones to film. There we go. Now we try to just carefully take everything back apart so we don't ding anything up. This all thread is probably the softest metal, well, other than the aluminum piston, it's probably the softest metal of everything going on here, so it shouldn't hurt anything too bad, but still try to be careful not to scratch anything up. Okay, so that's got the wrist pin out that far. I bet I can probably just pull it the rest of the way out and we're good to go. The bores in here look pretty good. Let me see the small one, and the small one there looks pretty good. So we're going to clean everything up and put put it back together here after a while and see how we feel about it after that. But I think everything will be pretty good. Okay, a few days later now, we had two main things that we were worried about before we proceeded on with this, and one being the cylinder walls. So those cleaned up pretty good, a little staining at the top, but they'll definitely run. Everything's nice and smooth, and the rust really wasn't too big of an issue. The other thing that we were worried about was getting these wrist pins cleaned up and making sure that all works. So we got them cleaned up, nice and free now, no play. We're confident about them. So we're in the process of getting everything cleaned up. We had a mad dash ordering parts. We're going to try and get this thing put together and get it going for this weekend to get in that car show. But this will be a good place to end this video, and we'll see you on when we start to assemble it. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.